Coach, what's your impressions of the offense now, 2 weeks into the season, as you're in the bye week now?
My impressions. Oh, there's some good, there's some stuff we got to get better at. Um, I'm very, very pleased with the way that our young men are approaching what we're doing. I just really like them. I like the way they play. They're having fun together. They're playing hard, and there's confidence building, and you can see that in the way they're carrying themselves. You see that in the way if you watch our kids, it's like the long touchdown run by Alex Tesco. Well, every teammate he had out there, the other 10 guys were racing down the field, trying to, just excited about playing football and the effort and being together and celebrating together. So there's a very good vibe. It's very positive. There's some things that we can definitely clean up. I did think we improved from week 1 to week 2. That's always a big deal is to see improvement. But I like what we're doing. I think the kids are really understanding what we're doing. And they're playing hard and they're playing with more and more confidence. I think every week that'll occur. We'll get a little better. You got to have some things go right. You guys, it's hard, you want to stay healthy and you want to, there's a lot of things that affect success. But right now, I just think we're in a good place if we'll just keep getting better, if we'll just keep growing and getting better.
What kind of leader is Blake Horvath?
Oh, he's a good leader. He's first of all, he's a great kid. Outstanding young man, very intelligent. I got to see, there's a lot of things about him that I'm learning too, week to week, just when you don't hit your quarterback a lot in practice. So how good of a runner is he really going to be, right? And I think he showed some things Saturday that, he has that ability. He has an ability to break open a play, and he has good speed, and he's done a good job taking care of the football. So he's the other guys I think believe in him. He's got a good rapport with everyone. So I'm very pleased. He's going to get so much better too. That's what's, if you really think about it, how much college football has Blake played? How many games is it? I mean, how many quarters of college football has he played? So I just think he's going to continue to improve. Got to keep him healthy and just got to keep him growing, keep him getting more confident. But I like Blake Horvath.
How tough was it to watch Trey go down on Saturday?
That's hard. I mean, it's a part of the game, and it's the part of the game that sucks, young man, and he's been through some things, obviously, and he'd been injured here and there, since we've been here, and he was I thought he was starting to really come around and play well, and it's a senior year, and we really don't need to lose any offensive linemen. It's all those things, right? So somebody's got to step up, but I hate that for him. I hate that for Trey. Just it's just a bad deal, and I know how bad he wants to play, and we're just praying that that everything heals up properly, and he had his surgery, and so but you hate that, but that's just one of the tough parts about football.
Thanks, Coach.
Wags.
So it seems like Blake is very comfortable running the offense. He seems to be making good decisions. You mentioned taking care of the ball. There haven't been, the first couple series he did put the ball on the ground with a pretty poor pitch early, but for the most part, taking care of the ball. Would you say that he's very comfortable with what you're doing?
I think so. The first 2 series we had what we wanted on option play, and we got tripped up a little bit, and we pitched a little behind, and so obviously that was a lost yardage play, and that hurts us, on that first drive, and then I think we just dropped a shotgun snap in the second drive. So some of us just settling down and getting going. Once he settled down, he really played well. So I do think he's very comfortable. I think he would tell you that as well. he absorbs information very well. He's a very intelligent guy. But we saw his ability to make plays, right? I mean, I thought he made some good throws. There's always there's one or two layups we got to hit the layups. I felt like we missed a layup there. We had a third down call where we missed Eli a little bit there on a corner route. But I think other than that, I mean, if you look at what he did, he was extremely productive. And when, offensively, when you go through a game and you do not have a penalty, you do not have a turnover, you do not give up a sack, and you're 2 for 2 in the red zone scoring touchdowns, that's pretty, that's a pretty good. You're not beating yourself. Okay, so that's the world we got to live in. We can't beat ourselves. We can't have. I've been very pleased. Knock on wood, we haven't had any pre-snap type penalties on offense, so I think he's pretty comfortable.
I described him in the column I wrote this week as being kind of a smooth runner. He's not, overly fast or, lightning quick, but he knows how to make cuts at the right time, set up blocks, and he's good inside in that he knows how to kind of change direction at the right instant. How would you describe his running style?
Well, first of all, he's fast. Now, he is a fast kid. But he's kind of slippery too. He's kind of slippery. He's the thing, with him is just going to be, some people have the ability to avoid the big tackle, right? The one where they just take a shot right up under the jaw, take a shot in the chest. I hope he can continue. He hasn't, they hadn't just nailed him. He hadn't had taken a huge hit, and at some point he's going to, and we'll see how he responds. But he can run. He's shown the ability to run by some people. Obviously, he ran by the whole Temple defense on the one run. He's shown the ability to handle the option, both under center and in the gun. And I think every week he gets more and more comfortable just reading stuff and hitting targets. So, but we need him to run to win. I think he's got to definitely be a part of that running game.
And a big emphasis for Blake during the all season was improving as a passer, and based on the numbers so far through 2 games, you would say he's done that.
Yes, and he's just mechanically everything from footwork to throwing mechanics to to decision making. I know I wasn't here obviously when he first got here, but I know Coach Jaspers talked a lot about just his first day of practice. He was just throwing it all over the place, when he first got here and how far he's come. So that's a credit to him working hard. And, I think we do a good job developing quarterbacks. I think Ivan does a great job coaching them. So he's definitely improved, and I just think he's only going to get better.
Is it a blessing that the way the first 2 games went, you're able to give Braxton quality time? And I know that by the time he got in the game, you're kind of trying to run the clock and the game down. So he's not getting to run the full offense quite the way that Blake is, but it's still valuable game experience.
It is. Anytime you get to play, it's good. In the first game, we were a little more wide open with him. We were, in the fourth quarter of this game, sometimes you're just trying to get through the game, run the ball and not show a lot more offensively. But still getting reps out there, having to manage it, having to process it, having to get a play call, get people in the right spot. Every time you get a chance to do that versus an opponent, that's a positive.
Last one for me for now. So, I mean, would you say that Braxton and Blake are different? They do bring different skill sets. I mean, running wise, Blake's kind of like he's a little more effective in between the tackles, whereas Braxton's more of a long strider. He's the kind of guy you want to get out in the open field and let him really open it up like a sprinter. Last year we were kind of saying that Braxton was the better passer. He has a real cannon of an arm. How would you say they're different?
I think, Braxton's he's a 6'3", 215-pound kid that can run fast, and he's got a cannon for an arm. So he's still learning. There's just some things from a timing standpoint, just being able to execute certain things, being able to anticipate and all that Blake just has a little better grasp of. Now, Blake can run fat, but he's not quite as big. And maybe he in 100 meters he might be one step behind him, but Blake can run and has some elusiveness about him, and has improved. Just throwing good, accurate balls. So I think they both fit our system. I do. I think there may be, a couple things that we don't ask Braxton to do that we might ask Blake to do in the course of a game, and vice versa. But I think they both fit the system, and they both are a dual threat, and that's what we want to have.
All right,
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, how do you like the development of the tight ends through these first 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a blessing. Obviously, we'd love to have Cody out there, and we really think we're going to have him back, for the Memphis game. And Cody is a tough kid. He is physical, and he brings more of a wide receiver type skill set to the position. But Scully and Jake have done they have done a solid job. They've not been a liability. They have blocked well. We've asked them to do different things. They've played their role very well. So sometimes you can look at that, and that's a blessing, because those two kids got to get all the reps for a while, and that just helped their development. So you feel like as you get Cody back, now you've created some depth. And even Miles getting in there and, making a catch, he brings some athleticism. Now he's a young pup, he's learning, but you feel like now that room, because that used to be a that there was not a tight end in the program a couple years ago, right? So, or not many. So, now you feel like you're building that room. We have, young guys coming that, and now in our recruiting, being able to find that guy that can be versatile and be a receiving threat, because that's a special weapon to have at tight end, is a guy who can hurt some people down the field. But I think where we are right now, getting Cody back, now you feel like, man, you got guys with game experience, and you feel like you got a little bit of depth. So I think that's just going to help us as we go throughout the season.
And now that you've got a full spring camp in, fall camp, and now into the season, do you have a good sense of the type of player you want to recruit for this type of team?
As far as just in general at the different positions?
For the Naval Academy now?
I think so. I mean, we want to, obviously our recruiting pool is a little smaller. Okay. And so we've got to, we got to try to stick to our profile. I think I think we've done a really good job defensively over the last couple of years recruiting, of trying to stay within our profile, which is, you want to get a certain size, you want to get a certain length, and all that. But then you also got to be willing to get outside the box a little bit when you find a special player who might be, a little smaller than that profile, so, but you can't have, we talk a lot about catch radius and different things where, if a kid's going to be a threat in the passing game, he's got to be able to be rangy enough to, to be a good target, so as we recruit, we want to get a little more length, and all that. But at the same time, you look at a guy like Chapman, he's not the longest guy, but he's got longer arms. So his catch radius is, so there's a lot that goes into how rangy of a player, is a guy. It isn't just his height. There's other factors involved. So we want to get more length, more catch radius, be a little heavier at some positions, but at the same time, we got to put a premium on finding guys who in space can do things, even if they're a little smaller, that they have the speed, the quickness to do it. But I think we have, as a staff, I think, we have a good handle on what we're trying to get, what we're trying to bring in. And I think, I feel like recruiting is going well. I think people are seeing what we're doing offensively. I think they're excited about that. I think there's certain quarterbacks now that we can recruit that maybe we wouldn't have had as good a chance to recruit in the past. And there's been some great quarterbacks here, don't get me wrong, obviously. But I think those positions, I think maybe you can find, another receiver or two maybe to to recruit because, we're throwing the ball a little bit more. So I think those are all positives, but winning's your best recruiter. Okay. So, we got to be successful, and target and find the right kids to recruit, the ones who can do the schoolwork here, who will thrive in the service environment. We've got a lot of great kids, and I think we're on a lot of great kids in recruiting.
And do you think that type of player that you're looking for comes from some of your recruiting bases, some of the places where you've had success recruiting?
Well, Georgia's a great state, okay, to recruit from, and that's obviously an area that I hit pretty hard. But we're having a good response from all over the country, So, I think we have some really good recruiters on our staff. We really do. On both sides of the ball, that's a team effort, and I think we do a great job of recruiting areas, but also recruiting positionally. So really tag teaming that recruit and having the whole offensive staff reaching out to get just really trying to build relationships. So I think we got a lot of kids from a lot of different places, and but definitely Georgia is a state that I'm partial to. So I think we'll get hopefully get a few kids from there as well.
Thanks.
Wags.
So how would you assess the offensive line? I mean, with the numbers you put up, one would have to believe the offensive line is playing pretty well.
Yeah, I think they're playing with a lot of confidence. They're playing really hard. Coach Guillermo and Coach Lauren Dean and Coach McDonald have done a great job with those guys. If you study our film, you see kids that are coming off the ball, and it was a challenge this past weekend because those two interior defensive linemen for Temple were dudes, and they had, it's just a lot of athleticism all over the field. So I felt like, and I feel like that's a group that's gaining confidence every week. And we certainly want our offensive line to kind of be the identity of our offense. So I think those guys are embracing that, and we'll certainly have a lot of challenges in front of us. We're gonna the competition's is gonna continue to increase. So we have got to continue to develop fundamentally, and just do a great job being coachable and exactly what we're supposed to do. And we got to do a good job schematically just to put those guys in good situations. And but I've been very pleased with those guys, with those guys up front. And I think they Coach Guillermo and those guys, they have a great ability to be hard on them, but those kids know that they care about them. And I think that's a special deal. That it's a special thing to be an offensive lineman. There's nothing else like it. It's a bunch of big, old nasty, sweaty boys that, they don't get nobody, nobody loves them. Nobody, they don't get to carry the ball. But it's such a great fraternity of just guys doing that hard work together, and it's a special thing. And I think that's the kind of culture that's being developed in that room. And that's what you got to have at the Naval Academy. I think we've got to continue to grow that, and there be a certain type of, edge and chip on their shoulder to how they play.
And so far through 2 games, who's grading out the highest among offensive linemen? I'm going to guess that McMahon is up there.
Yeah. I mean, Connor's played well. Brent Self graded out the highest the last game. That's good to see, just because he had some big boys down there. When you're center and you got a 300-pounder right in your chest, that's tough. So and those two, I think I would say those 2 guys have played well. Ben Purvis has done. I really like Ben Purvis. He has bought in. He cares greatly, and he's playing well. Bhutan as well. Bhutan's another kid that he missed a lot of, missed some things in the spring, just coming off injuries. And, like I said, I hate that Trey, we had lost Trey there. So some young guys will need to, step up and I believe they will. I believe they'll get it done. Cam Nichols is a guy that's really, got some ability, and that's a kid, you really expect to see in there now. But as a group, just getting everybody building some depth, and those are processes, but I'm proud of those kids.
I was just going to ask you about the depth with losing Cummings. You got to move Bouton out to tackle, Nichols into the lineup at guard, which means you need to find new backups at those positions. Hoke Smith is the guy whose name's been mentioned. I don't know who's kind of showing up at tackle now as a guy that could back up Connor and Javon.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping that Creed Folger could come through some. White House. I mean, it's going to be. Those are some things we need people to press forward on. So it's definitely it's something that we are putting a lot of attention on, and trying to figure out what combinations and how you get through hopefully a 13-game season. That's what you want to do. So, and you never know. We'll get blessed. Maybe 14 or 15. You never know what can happen around here with a playoff now. So, might as well think big. But that's that's depth was a concern at the beginning of the season. Obviously, it's an even bigger one now when you lose a guy. So, need some of those guys to come on and step up.
I know you feel good about your top two quarterbacks. How's the number 3 developing? I guess Trey Jones is that guy for now. I think Charles Robinson got some run with the JV team. But do you feel by the end of this year you'll have a third guy that you could, I don't know, trust? God forbid something to happen to one of the top 2 guys, you're going to need another.
Yeah, it's been Trey, and I think look for Jackson Gutierrez a little bit. I think, a guy who's we kind of been trying to push forward a little bit. It's difficult, man, when you're a plebe. It's just, I think in the future we'll have. It was a strange situation. We came in, we had 2 guys that we felt pretty good about, and then, behind that, we had, I think we had Will playing some quarterback back in the spring, and so it trying to find the next guy, and then you get your plebes in here, and they've been through a lot of stuff starting in July, but I would also keep your eyes open for Jackson as well.
So how did Mili Slade emerge? And then we're talking about a former quarterback right there, and I'm not sure when he moved to tight end, whether it was this August or during had to have been because he's a freshman.
Yep.
But he wasn't even on the depth chart for this game.
Yeah, I think about 2 weeks into camp, we just said, look, this kid he's 6'2", he was already 220 pounds. He has some athleticism, so we said, well, let's try him there. And you can see that eventually he's going to be able to do it. But now he's plebe, he's learning. There's a lot on his plate, and he's that kid that Coach Williams always says, man, I wish I had about an hour every day of just individual with him. Just work the fundamentals. But he definitely has the tools to do it. So that's what when you talk about the future of the position, I feel real good about where it's heading, and but yeah, we snuck him in there, didn't we, in the game? we didn't know that the ball was going to go to him on that play. We thought it might. We were it was a little more designed to go to Tesca, and they really didn't cover either one of them. So yeah, it ended up being Miles. He did a good job catching it.
So obviously we talked about this. What's that?
Nothing. You're up.
Okay. We talked about this kind of in the preseason, but trying to utilize 2 fullbacks, and Daba didn't really get much. Let me look here. 2 carries. It just a function how the game went, or
yeah. Don't read too much into that. It's just. I feel like you got to have 2 B-backs that can carry the ball, and it's just one of them games where a lot of time when it comes to those 2 guys, when I'm calling the game, most of the plays I call, I'm good with either one of them being in the game. So it just kind of was one of them deals where the way the game went, it wasn't as Daba was a bigger. It went a little more his way the first game, a little more Alex's way the second game. Nothing to read into that at all. Daba's a really good player, and he's going to make a lot of plays the rest of the year. Just kind of went that way.
Guy, you got something else? I don't want to dominate all the time.
I'm good.
All right. Well, the last question for me. Heiden Reich obviously is emerged as the primary weapon in the passing game. Would you like to hand him the ball more?
I would like to get him the ball any way humanly possible. So yeah, we want to get him the ball. However that is, we want to get it to him. So we're believe me, that's something we definitely talk about, and but you also, Chat I think is a really good player, and so the main thing is going to be how do we? You're trying to do two things. Once it's about players getting the ball, but it's also about how do we get them the ball in situations where it looks like we're very systematic. Okay, so how are we building? How are we flowing? What's the next phase of this particular package? What have we been showing defenses? So that what's the next phase of that? So some of that plays a role into it as well. But Eli's special, okay, and so we need to manufacture as many ways as we can to get him the ball within the system, within the flow of, hey, this fits who we are and what we do. But I tell you what, he's electric now out there. Man, I wish he could have pulled that. They got him right on the heel, man. They just got him right on the heel. It'd have been nice to go on about 96. I was messing with Coach Newberry because I'm pretty. I can be fairly aggressive and at times, and so I said, Coach, no, I want to take a shot down here. You good? And he didn't say it quite as quickly as I was hoping he would, but he's yeah, go ahead. So, but it was there. He ran a great route, and we gave him a hard time that he let that guy get him by the pinky toe down there. So
That would have been the school record if he would have took it all the way.
It's hard to go much further. So.
Yep.
Well, last for me, and I actually lost my train of thought here for a second.
You think about them long touchdowns.
Well, no, yeah, actually, that's what it is. Explosive plays. After the game, Coach New said the goal is 8 explosive plays. That seems awfully ambitious. That Strauss tells me that's defined as 20-yard pass or 12-yard run. That's 8 of those in a game. That's doing something.
That means you got a chance, doesn't it? So we had 6. Okay, we had 6 in the game. Now it was 6 for 240 yards. Okay, so I felt like we kind of met the explosion play goal. Just because some of them were, they were long explosion plays, and that's awesome. Now, I think an area we've really got to improve in is we had a lot of 2-yard gains. Okay, a lot of 2 and 3-yard gains, and if we're just a little better fundamentally, little better fit, little better leverage, we got to get those 2 and 3 into 5 to 7, right? Just that adds up over the course of a game, and so while we had the explosion plays, then we had 53 other plays, that got a total of less than 200 yards. So you'd really love for the explosion plays are great, okay, but you want to be more consistent, and there's a lot of evidence on film that we can be a little better on those other plays. All plays aren't going to be explosion plays. That's obviously not realistic, but I think we've got to be a little better, get 2 extra yards here, 3 extra yards there with just a little bit better execution.
How many explosive plays against Bucknell?
We had 8. We had 8 versus Bucknell.
Okay.
I think the total of that game was 8 for 205, something like that.
Okay.
Another interesting nugget is Navy has 4 touchdown drives of one play, which is the most in the FBS. 4
Is
one
that
play.
right?
Yep, 4 1-play touchdown drives. Yep.
Did we have 2 1-play drives the first?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we did, didn't we? Because we had Dobb, and then we had
Chat.
the screen to chat.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and Coach Newberry was saying in the post-game press conference, sometimes you score too fast.
Well, I hope that's a huge problem. I hope that's a very huge problem. Yeah, that'd be great.